Everybody, please let me know that whether I am audible and clear so that we are going to start our program. Okay, thank you very much for confirming. So, Dr. Dilpesh, on behalf of Geetanjali Institute of Pharmacy, Geetanjali University, I welcome you for this webinar. And thank you very much for accepting our invite for betterment of our students and to deliver them the useful information on this important topic, that is drug safety. So, guys, are you okay? Are you ready for that? I think that a few students could not receive the message, so that you can also tell your colleagues, so that in a minute or two we are going to start this program. And by the time I am just introducing our guest speaker today, Dr. Dilpesh Jain. So Dr. Dilpesh Jain is currently working with the Pfizer Healthcare Limited India, and he is presently posted at Chennai. Dr. Dilpesh is having 14 years of experience in pharmaceutical sector and having expertise in authoring scientific research papers and documents pertaining to the post-marketing safety data. He is also having the good presentation and interpersonal skills, and he is having ability to work as a part independently, and he has done his PhD on the topic, that is evolution of bioflavonoids in the diabetic nephropathy. He has completed his master's degree with a dissertation on evolution of Phyllanthus amblica, linen fruit extracts on the lysosomal enzyme activities in the carbon tetrachloride induced cirrhosis in rats. He also had been in the teaching at Sinhagad College of Pharmacy, Maharashtra, and he is having professional certifications in the basic and regulatory aspects of pharmacovigilance. Dr. Dilpesh is having certification on the current regulatory requirement for conducting clinical trials in India, and that has been issued by NPTEL. And he is having certification on the regulatory requirement for the medical devices and IVDs in India. So currently, Dr. Dilpesh is working as a manager, aggregate report, Pfizer Healthcare India Private Limited, Chennai. And he is involved in the writing of the documents pertaining to post-marketing safety data to support product development, license application, and post-marketing maintenance on behalf of and in conjunction with the corresponding project teams. Dr. Dilpesh Jain is an experienced lead writer to deliver most types of safety documents like periodic safety update reports, PSUR, then periodic benefit risk evaluation reports, addendum to clinical overviews, new drug applications, periodic adverse drug experience reports, safety update reports, Canadian annual reports, response to the regulatory queries on safety topics, post-marketing safety assessments, and other documents in support of safety changes to labeling documents. He is also providing expertise to assess the document requirements, gauge the document complexity, and identify the information gaps or other potential issues with the Pfizer Healthcare India Private Limited. So, Dr. Dilpesh, we welcome you on this webinar, and then we are thankful to you that you are sparing your time for delivering the content on this important topic, drug safety. So I would request all the participants, all the students to listen this talk carefully so that it would be useful for you. So I think, Dr. Dilpesh, we can start. Are you ready for that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So just let me tell you somebody that to make you host, or should I start presentation from here?
Yeah, please, sir. Because I'm getting some difficulty, technical error while sharing my screen or presentation. So
okay,
it will be okay if someone
no
can
issue.
share.
No issue. That this would be done from here. So I would request all the participants, so those who can open their camera, so that it would be easy for the speaker to be connected with the audience. क्योंकि ऑफलाइन ऑनलाइन मैटर में क्या होता है कि कैमरा बंद करके पीछे सामने पता नहीं चलता कि कौन बैठा भी है या नहीं. So that it would be great, so that audience and the speaker connection would be maintained appropriately. So those who can open their camera, then please do it, so that it would be interactive session. And just Dr. Dilpesh would be glad to answer any query related to the documentation part in the different topics, whatever he will be covering here. So let me tell you, friends, that having listened from the people who are really doing work at industry, whatever you have studied in your curriculum or the things, these are the theoretical aspects. And the person who is practically working in the field would be able to deliver you the correct and the latest information which would be helpful. So would request you all the participants to listen carefully and get the maximum benefit of the time you are spending here in this webinar. So over to you, Dr. Dilpesh. Then just I am sharing your screens and we can start our presentation. So anybody can confirm if my screen is visible to you?
Yeah, it's visible for me.
Yeah. So let me make it full. So I think it's visible. Dr. Dilpesh, over to you.
Yeah, yes, sir, it's visible. Okay, before I start my presentation, can anybody confirm like I'm audible?
Yeah, Dr.
Clear and
Dilpesh, you are
loud?
audible.
Okay, thank you so much. So first of all, I would like to thank the principal, Dr. Mahendra Singh Rathore, and the staff of Geetanjali University for organizing this event and giving me this opportunity to present this important topic to all of you. So before any further delay, I'll start my presentation. And sorry, I missed. And thank you, Dr. Mahendra Singh Rathore, for giving a detailed introduction about me. So without any further delay, we'll quickly jump on the today's topic, that is drug safety, which is very important topic, not in terms of career point of view, but it is a very important topic in terms of the safety and the benefit of the patient. So next slide, please. So before start of this presentation, I would like to give a disclaimer that the statements and the facts and opinion expressed in this presentation are mine, and it should not be attributed to the employer or the organization or society with which I am affiliated right now. Next slide, please. So in the today's presentation, we will in the upcoming 1 hour, we will discuss about the history, definition of the pharmacovigilance, what is individual case safety reports, generally the basic terminologies used in PV system, how PV workflow works, and what are the different types of aggregate reports that we need to submit to the regulatory agency, and how the pharmacovigilance program runs in Indian scenario. So these points we will touch upon during the next 1 hour, and I hope this presentation will be useful for all of you, and it will be eye opener, not in terms of the safety point of view, but it will be a good career opportunity. Those who are studying B Farm, M Farm, or Farm D, there are the let me tell you, there are the multiple opportunities in the industry on the drug safety. So we'll touch upon each and every point in the upcoming slides. Next slide, please. Next slide. So today we will be discussing about the drug safety. As we know, the daily increasing the diseases, and in alternative days we are listening about the new medications being launched into the market. So not only the efficacy but the safety is prime concern for the patient benefit, and that's why the drug safety is one of the hottest topic in daily medical practice, particularly with not particularly in regards to the approving of new medication, but also it may lead to the questioning of the possibility of withdrawing of a drugs which is being market for the public. Next slide, please. Okay. So before, sorry.
No issues. You can continue, sir.
Okay. So before we start upon the drug safety, let me have a look into the drug development stages and the timeline. Being a pharmacy student, I think everybody knows that the drug development is not a one-day process, and it takes several years, and it involves a robust procedure for the drug development. And these drug development particularly starts in two stages: the pre-clinical trials and the clinical trials. So in preclinical trials of the drug discovery phases, we invent the molecule being invented in the chemical laboratory by synthesis method, some biological preparations, or the new drug can be developed from the plant origin as a plant extract. And once this lead molecule generated, these lead molecule is being tested for the safety and efficacy into the animal before it reaches to the human beings. And this entire process is called as the preclinical trials. So in these preclinical trials, the drug is being tested for its safety and efficacy into the various animal models. Once the lead is giving sufficient information about its efficacy and safety, then the investigator or the pharmaceutical company file an application to the regulatory agency to get an approval to introduce this drug into the human being, that is called as the clinical trial. So that particular form or that particular application, we called it as the IND, investigational new drug application. So once the IND is submitted to the regulatory agencies, this IND, upon review of this IND form, uh, the regulators allow or approve the drug trials, and that begins the clinical development of the drug. So in the clinical development of the drug is being tested for its safety and efficacy in multiple phases of clinical trials with the increasing number of the volunteer. So initially the drug is tested in the phase 1 trial, that is tested for to check its maximum tolerability in the patient and to define a particular dose which can be used in the patient for a disease for which the drug is invented. So these phase 1 trial involves a 10 or 20 volunteers. And once we identified the maximum tolerability of the dose, in the second phase, the drug is actually administered for a subject for which the drug is developed. Okay, so in phase 2 and phase 3 trial, the drug is administered to a disease patient for which the drug is invented. And these phase 2 and phase 3 trials involves the hundreds and thousands of volunteers. And these studies are carried out in the several different places. Okay, and that is called as a multi-central trial. And these phase actually takes the 5 to 7 years of the drug development. So after the preclinical and clinical testing, once the drug shows the promising effect and promising result about its safety and efficacy, the pharmaceutical company file and the new drug application to the regulators to get an approval to launch this drug into the market for the clinical practice. Once the FDA review the drug applications and approve the drug application, the pharmaceutical market companies got the marketing authorization for the drug to be marketed into the large number of patients in clinical practice. So this is all about. So I think everybody knows about this drug development process, and this drug development process takes on multiple years and the robust and the extensive process before the drug reaches to the clinical practice for the large number of the patient. Next slide, please. So as we see, the drug development takes on multiple years and the robust process, and that phase is called as the clinical study. But still, the safety and efficacy is not at par observed when the drug is being tested in the clinical study. And when we compare in the clinical practice, when the drug is utilized by the large number of population, we can also find out more safety and the efficacy aspect of a drug. And why it is so? Because the clinical study, when the drug is investigated in the clinical study, it has a multiple limitation compared to when the drug is used in the clinical practice. The very first difference is the number of patients. As we know, as we see in the previous slide, in the clinical study, rarely thousands of patients being introduced with the drug, but when the drug is marketed into the clinical practice, the millions of patients get exposed to the drug. The duration, the clinical study is starts with some years or weeks or months, but when the drug is utilized in the clinical practice, the drug is consumed by the patient for many years. For example, anti-diabetic medications, antihypertensive medication, those medications can be taken the lifelong. Population, when the drug is investigated into the clinical study, generally the vulnerable populations like pregnant, children, and elderly are excluded being introduced into the clinical study. But while when the drug is launched into the clinical practice, all populations can have an access to the drug. When the drug is investigated in the clinical study, investigators generally avoid the concomitant medications, and they have restrict to enroll certain people which have specific illness. While the drug, when it is being used in the clinical practice, it is these things cannot be avoided. When the drug is used in the clinical practice, where the fixed dose which is administered by the investigator being administered to the patient, while when the drug is used in the clinical practice, the dose may be vary. Some patient may take the low dose, some patient may take high dose, overdose, or some abuse or misuse conditions can occur. So variable doses can be taken by the patient when the drug is being used in the clinical practice. So in nutshell, all the clinical studies are the controlled clinical trials where the investigator have an rights to whom to administer, what to administer, and how much to administer in the clinical study. While when the drug is used in the clinical practice, there is a very flexible. It is available for the millions of patients. It can be used by all populations, and there is no avoidance of the concomitant medications, doses, and that's why the data which is generated from the clinical practice, it's more reliable, more authentic, more reliable, or more robust in short, as compared to the when the drug is used in the clinical study. And that is the reason the pharmaceutical company keep a continued watch on the drug after it's introduced into the market. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So before we touch upon the pharmacovigilance, we'll just quickly see what is the historical background of this pharmacovigilance. So this pharmacovigilance is not the new, it's nothing new. It is actually started more than 170 years ago when the young girl Anha, who is from the North England, died because of chloroform anesthetics. The chloroform anesthetics was invented by Sir Simpson, and it was introduced as a safer anesthetics at that time. But it was not, and that time it was very difficult to identify what killed Anahas, and it was understood that the Anaha died maybe due to arrhythmia or pulmonary aspiration. But after Anaha's death, there were several deaths, and the drug alerts were raised by the clinician. And at that time, it was identified that the chloroform can chloroform is the cause of death for being used as an anesthetics. After an 1848 incident, there were 107 deaths were reported in the United States when the sulfonilamide elixirs, which is used by the patient, that contains a solvent diethyl glycol. So in this case, the diethyl glycol, which is a solvent considered as a cause of death, and even the manufacturing company did not aware at that time about the toxicity of the diethyl glycol. So these incidences leads to an setup of the Federal Food Drug Act and Cosmetic Act was established in the United States in 1938 to renovate the public health system for the patient benefits. In 1955, the study was conducted and it was identified that the acetyl salicylic acid can lead to the gastrointestinal toxicity when it is used in the GI gastrointestinal disease patient, and that is why nowadays it is currently it is contraindicated in GI disease patient. But the main change occurs in 1961 after the thalidomide tragedy. Next slide, please. So what happens in thalidomide tragedy? Initially, the thalidomide is the medicines which is developed by the Swiss pharmaceutical company as a tranquilizers in 1955. Later on, these thalidomide was acquired by the German pharmaceutical company Gronthal, and they have marketed this drug as an in the treatment of morning sickness. And these drugs is being used by the thousands of the pregnant ladies, and later on it was identified that the thalidomide can cause the severe drug effect and it leads to the phocomelia. So in Europe at that time, more than 10,000 babies were delivered with the phocomelia, and it is also called as a limbless baby. You can see the few of the pictures of the severe birth effect which is associated with the thalidomide. Previous slide, please. So this thalidomide tragedy gave a big change to the pharmacovigilance activity, and it leads to think that a robust system is very essential to continue a watch on the drug when even after the it getting the marketing authorization. And followed the 1961 tragedy in 1964, the UK started the yellow card system. So yellow card system is nothing but the form where the healthcare professional or the patient can directly report the area to the regulatory agency or the pharmaceutical company. After that 1964, in 1965, the European legislation was developed to have to develop a robust system to keep a watch on the drug which is marketed in the European Union. Followed by 1965, in 1968, WHO started the program International Drug Monitoring Program. In 1995, the EMA, European Medicines Agency, was set up, which has main objective to keep a continuous watch on the drug and to have the watch on the adverse drug reactions, which is generated after the drug which is marketed. After that, in 2001, the Vigilance was funded by the EMA, and Vigilance is nothing but the central database which record the data storage, and it also analyzes the ADR reports, and which also takes the action if any signals or in any unintended reaction is noted by the Vigilance database. After in 2012, the new pharmacovigilance legislation was developed by the EMA, and the new and even the robust pharmacovigilance setup was developed in 2017, which gives a more extended access to the pharmaceutical company for the Vigilance database. So these are all the historical events happens in the past, which leads the requirement of the drug safety unit or the pharmacovigilance activity is very essential. Even the drug is tested in the robust clinical study, but there is always more can be learned when the drug is marketed into the clinical practice. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, what is pharmacovigilance? So, if you see the etymological classification, pharmacovigilance is derived from the two words. Pharmacon. Pharmacon means a medical substance, and vigili. Vigili means it's just to keep a watch. So, continuous keeping a watch on the medical system substance, it's called as a pharmacovigilance. As per the WHO definition, pharmacovigilance is the science and activities that particularly related to the detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effect or any other medicines or vaccine related problem. So if you see next next okay, so if you see the no previous okay, so if you see pharmacovigilance has this two primary outcome is the essentially it check the efficacy and safety of the medication, and in general it asks does a drug work and is it safe. Okay, so far, and also in European Union, the pharmacovigilance is defined as the process and science of monitoring of the safety of medication and taking at action to reduce the risk and increase the benefit of the medicines. Next slide, please. So why do we need the pharmacovigilance? As we see, there more can be learned from the monitoring of the safety or medicines once they are in use. Medicines are tested, though the medicines are tested extensively in the clinical trials before they are authorized and reach to the patient. However, more can be learned once the medicines are in use, and therefore the pharmacovigilance is a vital process to study the safety of all medicines monitored throughout their use, and the information on the risk can be generated and the appropriate action can be taken by the regulatory agency about the authorized medicines. Next slide, please. So how do we what kind of side effects are associated with medicines? As we know, the side effects are the multiple types of areas can be reported, and few side effects are the predictable side effects. For example, some adverse reactions are predictable, means we can assume those side effects based on the pharmacological actions of a drug, or some side effects are dose dependent. For example, if you are administering any anti-hyperglycemic agent in a high dose, these high dose anti-hyperglycemic medication may lead to the hypoglycemia. So these hypoglycemia ADR can be predictable based on the dose dependent relationship. Some side effects or adverse reactions are allergic reactions. Those are less predictable. Some results due to the prescribing or administration error. As we know that several medications are contraindicated in some patients, or several medications cannot be prescribed together. For example, if you prescribe the tetracycline with the iron containing preparation, it may lead to the chelate formation, or it can decrease the efficacy of the tetracycline. And some may occur in a susceptible individual, like if you administer the sulfamethoxazole in the G6PD deficiency patient, it may lead to the blood dyscrasis, and fewer side effects can be occur even after the prolonged use. Okay, so these kind of side effects are associated with medicines, and some side effects which are associated with the prolonged use, those side effects generally cannot be identified when the drug is being tested in the clinical study, and that is the reason the pharmacovigilance is very important. even it's very, very important for the regulators and the pharmaceutical companies. Next slide, please. So how do we monitor the side effects? So both the medicines regulators and the pharmaceutical company monitor the side effect of medicine for as long as the medicines are on the market or if necessary. It will take the action to protect the patient in the European Union or in any regulatory agency. So how do we report? So any individual can report the side effect directly to the healthcare profession, directly to pharmaceutical company or the regulatory agency, or even they can reach out to the healthcare professional, and the healthcare professional can furnish the ADR detail form, and then that form can be submitted to the pharmaceutical company or the competent authority. And these forms then finally sent out to the Udra Vigilance. Like Udra Vigilance in terms of EMA, Udra Vigilance is the database in the European Union. For example, FIRES is the database for the USA. Okay, and like that, VGFlow is the international database which is managed by the WHO. So these reports are sent to the various databases to take the safety monitoring, and if any undesirable effect or any signal detected, then the appropriate actions can be taken on the approved medicines. Next slide, please. So why ADRs are very, very important, not only the in terms of the patient benefit, but the ADRs are contributing largely into the hospital admission. The burden of adverse drug reaction in the global scenario is very high, and it accounts the considerable morbidity, mortality, and even it leads to the extra cost to the patient. So these are the few numbers which suggest like how the ADRs has a burden on hospital administration admission. In England, around 1% of the total hospital administration were due to ADR, and this situation is likely to be Australian healthcare system as well. In the United States, the ADR contribute around 7% of the hospital administration, and this percentage is even higher in certain countries, which reaches to 10% or more. In India, we have the current population is more than 1.4 billion, and we are the largest producers of pharmaceuticals in the world. We have more than 6,000 licensed manufactured and 3,000 plus branded formulation. But studies reveal that ADRs are also leading to hospitalization, and it contribute a significant economic burden in patient in India. Next slide, please. So here I'm taking the few example which suggest the pharmacovigilance, the drug regulators or the pharmaceutical company have taken the action based on the pharmacovigilance data. There are the multiple medicines withdrawn till now, but here I have taken few medications which are withdrawn from the last 2 decades. The very well-known example of rofecoxib. We everyone knows that rofecoxib is the COX-2 inhibitor, which is very, very good analgesic action, or but it was withdrawn from the market 2004 because it leads to the risk of myocardial infarction or stroke. It is identified that, or it is estimated that around 27,000 heart attacks were caused due to the rofecoxib use. And in India, because of the less reportability and there is a less robust system, even we are using the rofecoxib where, in spite of the world, it was banned in other countries. Another medication, sibutramine. Sibutramine is an anti-obesity drug which was withdrawn from various markets in 2010 because it increased the risk of heart attack and stroke. The rosiglitazone is again a well-known medication in the anti-diabetic medication, which is withdrawn in 2010 from Europe because of the heart attack and death. And this drug continues to be available in the US, but now it is withdrawn. Tetrazepam is also withdrawn in 2013 because of the serious cutaneous reaction. Ranitidine is the latest example. 2020 it is withdrawn worldwide because the ranitidine broken down into a very carcinogenic substance and nitrosodimethylamine, and it leads to a various cancer. Locarcin is another anti-obesity drug which is withdrawn in 2020 from US because of the increased risk of cancer. Ingenol mebutate, which is used in the skin diseases, which is the license of Ingenol mebutate is also suspended in 2020 because of the increased risk of skin cancer. And that is why this is the reason the pharmacovigilance is very, very important, because these all the regulatory actions have been taken based on the robust pharmacovigilance and the safety data which is reported into the different regulatory agencies. Next slide, please. So what are the sources? Like what are the sources or the for the information on the drug safety? So drug safety is generally the reporting of the adverse event, right? And the adverse event can be reported through a multiple channel. So first, very first channel, as we see, the even the patient or the healthcare professional can directly report the area to the pharmaceutical company or the health authority, and then it can be archived into the regulatory databases. So, and these regulatory databases, the few example I have highlighted over here is the FAIRS. FAIRS is the FDA Adverse Event Reporting System, which is the database in US. UDRA Vigilance, which is a database managed by the EMA, European Union. Digibase is the database which is managed by WHO. So these the reports in these databases give the signal and is the main source for the identification of the untoward effect about the medicines. Apart from this report, there are several, as the pharmacovigilance, we look into not only the post-marketing, but even the pharmacovigilance active when the drug is being tested in the clinical study. So there were several studies, non-clinical studies, clinical trial, then observational studies, real-world data, registries, comparative effectiveness research, comparative safety research. So these are the different studies which we generally carried out for the testing the efficacy and safety of medications, and these studies also gives drug safety information. The literature search again an important. We publish several literature, meta-analysis, and the drug reports. Okay, these published literature and the reports abstract, including information on the scientific meetings, also gives an information about the drug safety. Market access or market research. There is a product usage data, means the product exposure data, how much of the amount of the drug is being exposed to the patient. Drug then patient support programs also gives an information about the drug safety. Next point, please. Healthcare related data. Nowadays everyone have the health insurance, and now we have the robust system in every hospitals where we have the electronic health records, electronic medical records, lab data, medicare data, clinical data. So all these data will also gives an informations or the signals about the drug safety. We have the internet. Every pharmaceutical company has their sponsored website. Okay, then internal search engines, patient forums, social media channel, drug alert, Medscape. There are so many internet sources which also gives an information about the drug safety. And there are apart from this, there are several other channels which also gives them drug safety informations. And those channels include then other sponsors, academic institution. Nowadays, the academic institution, many academic institution has started the area reporting unit or the rec safety unit, then product quality investigation, informations obtained from wearables that includes the gadgets like nowadays people are using the Fitbit and smart watches which records your sleep pattern, heart rate, and the exercise pattern. So these wearables can also give the drug safety information, and ad hoc reports which is generated by the company field, medical requests. So they are the enormous sources by which we can get the drug safety information. Next slide, please. So, what is the main objective of pharmacovigilance? So far, we learned the pharmacovigilance is very, very important to keep a continuous watch on the marketed or the approved medicines to check whether the medicine is efficacious or medication is safe. So, pharmacovigilance also gives an object. The one of the most important objective of PV is the identification of mechanism that cause an ADR effect of a drug. Second, we can timely correct the therapeutic errors. See, several areas can be occurs due to the medication error. So medication error in terms of the administration error, if the wrong product is administered, contraindicated product is administered to the patient, or the administration procedure is not followed as per the prescribed information. The medication error can occur into the prescribing errors. Suppose the wrong medication or contraindicated medication is prescribed to a patient, then distribution error, dispensing error. So these error, if it is identified, this the error these error can be corrected timely due to the pharmacovigilance. Then pharmacovigilance detect the unknown adverse effect and the drug interactions, and it gives a chance to the regulators as well as the pharmaceutical company to reevaluate is the risk benefit balance of a medicine. So generally, the drug which is available in the market based on the risk benefit balance. Okay, for example, we all know that the anti-cancer drug can leads to the alopecia. So alopecia is the side effect, is the risk. Okay, but while benefit is the cancer is the anti-cancer drugs are the life saving. So in these terms, the risk benefit is outweigh than the risk, and that is why the even though the severe alopecia anti-cancer drugs still approve and are available into the market. So, based on these pharmacovigilance data, it gives a chance to the regulators and the pharmaceutical company to evaluate its risk benefit balance of the medication. And after gathering all this information, the next step is distribution of this information to healthcare professionals, as well as these to run the educational program for the patient. Next slide, please. So here I have highlighted the few important regulatory organizations. As we discussed, the European Medicine Agency is a regulatory organization for the European Union. PMDA, that is Pharmaceutical and Medical Device Agency, is the regulatory agency of Japan. FDA is a medicine is a regulatory agency of USA. Then Health Canada is for Canada, NSM for France, TGA Therapeutic Good Administrative is for Australia, and for India the regulatory agency for the monitoring of ADRs are the CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization. Next slide, please. So before we move ahead about the ICSR on what are the aggregate report, we should understand the basic terminologies which is used in the pharmacovigilance. So first we will try to understand what is investigational product. So investigational product is nothing but the experimental product under the study. So any product which we give for the preclinical or clinical testing, that product is called as an investigational product. Second is the adverse event. So it is very important to understand what is the difference between the adverse event and adverse drug reaction. So what is adverse event? Generally, these adverse events are the untoward medical occurrences, and those medical occurrences generally reported into the clinical trial subject. But the basic hint in the adverse event is that all the event or all the untoward occurrence does not necessarily have a causal relationship with the treatment. Means there may or may not be a correlation between the drug treatment and the ADR, and that is why it is called as the adverse event. While the adverse reaction is also untoward response to the medical product, which is noxious and unintended, but there may have a necessary causal relationship. Means there is a link is established between the treatment or between the drug and the adverse event. Oh, sorry, adverse reaction, and that is why I called it the ADR. So let me clear one more time. Adverse event are the untoward occurrences occurs in the clinical trial subject where the adverse drug reaction occurs into the clinical practice. Adverse event does not necessarily have a causal relationship. It may be or may not be linked to the drug. Okay, there may be a link to the drug and the untoward effect, but in adverse drug reaction, there might be a established link between the untoward effect and the drug product. So these are the two important terminologies we need to understand. The next terminology is company core data sheet. Every pharmaceutical company, when they launch their product, they should have a one document, and that document is called as a core data sheet. So what it contains? This is extensive document every pharmaceutical company prepare for its product, and these document contain safety information. But in addition to safety information, it contains all the information like material related to indication, posology, dosing, pharmacological study data, and other information concerning to the product, like for example warning and precautions data, then the contraindications data, then the posology, then so all the aspects are present in the one sheet, and that sheet is called as the core data sheet, CDS, or company core data sheet. Next slide, please. So there is another document needs to be prepared for the pharmaceutical company. It's called as a company core safety information. So in CDS we have the safety information along with have the all the information regarding with the drug product. But in core safety information, it only have the relevant safety information, and this is prepared by the marketing authorization or the pharmaceutical company. Next is expected and unexpected. These are the two important terminologies when we look into the PV. So what is meant by expected? Suppose if any adverse reaction, it is well documented in CDS or CSI, it is called as unexpected. For example, if I tell you any anti-hyperglycemic medications, right? So we know that the anti-hyperglycemic medications may lead to the hypoglycemia, and this hypoglycemia as an ADR, it is mentioned in the CSI or CDS. Then if any hypoglycemia reported, that event is called as an expected event, because this hypoglycemia is also well documented into the CDS or CSI. Unexpected, if any adverse reaction is not well documented, for example rash is not documented for medicine X in the CDS or CSI, and if the patient reported rash after taking the medication, then that is called as an unexpected event. the long form of SUSAR is called as the suspected, unexpected, serious adverse reaction. And this reaction is generally referred to an adverse event that occurs in clinical trial subject. Please revise, the adverse event generally occurs in clinical trial and which is assessed by the sponsor and the investigator is unexpected, serious, and there may be a reasonable possibility or they have the causal relationship. So causal relationship means there is an established link or there is an established mechanism which explains the drug, the event is associated with the drug. Okay, and that terminology is called as the causal relationship. So when there is a causal relationship with the study drug and the event is unexpected, which is not in there in the CDS, CSI, or the investigator brochure, and the event is so serious, then that event is called as the SUSAR. So SUSAR is very important event when the drug is being investigated in the clinical study and in the PV. Next slide. So as we know,
Sorry, some technical problem was there. So, Dr. Dilpesh, you please unmute yourself.
am I
Yeah,
audible now?
yes. Some technical glitch
Okay.
was there. So I would request at this point of time because some weather problem is there. Maybe probably this is from my end also or from another. So the same link, if somehow this is disconnected, all of you are requested to reconnect with the same link. And I am here, so we'll be resolving this issue. And there is no problem. So sometime it happens. So I'm just resharing this screen of Dr. Dilpesh again. I think Dr. Dilpesh, we were here.
I think we are in the next slide. I don't know, like I was speaking until now that undesirable effect.
This
Next.
all
I think
this
these
already
are
we
all
discussed.
covered. Yeah, all
This we
covered.
covered. This we covered.
Covered.
This one, I think.
Yeah. This slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just enter so we can see the entire slide.
So it's
All
not
the
visible. The complete slide.
yeah. Is it visible? But just enter so all the animations will come in the slide, no? Because there
Okay.
is okay. That's great. Previous slide. So it's good to go.
Yeah. You can please.
Okay. Okay. So as we know, the undesirable effect is a key terminologies in the ADR reporting, and the undesirable effect may be or may not be related to the drug product or the investigational drug. As we see, if it is not related to the drug or there may not be a causal relationship, this undesirable effect is called as an adverse event. Okay, and if this adverse event is serious, considered serious, then it is called as a serious adverse event. Similarly, if there is a causal relationship between the established between the undesirable effect and the medicinal product, then undesirable effect is called as an adverse drug reaction. And if it matches with if it is a serious adverse drug reaction, then it is called as a serious adverse drug reaction. So, what are the seriousness criteria to consider the ADR or the adverse event as a serious adverse drug reaction or the serious adverse event? For example, if the undesirable effect leads to the death, it is considered as a serious. If the undesirable effect is leads to the life-threatening diseases or the congenital anomalies, then that is called considered as serious. If the undesirable effect leads to the prolongation of hospitalization or immediate intervention is needed, then it is considered as serious. If it leads to the permanent disability or incapacity to the human being, then it is considered as a serious. And any other medically significant event like the incapacity, or it may lead to the significant medical harm to the patient, then those areas or adverse events are considered as a serious adverse event or the serious adverse drug reaction. Next slide, please. So what are the component of the pharmacovigilance? So all the PV is work in the four component. The first very important component is called as the ICSR. So ICSR is nothing but the individual case safety report. Once the ICSR is reported into the databases, these databases, then the pharmaceutical company has to write the medical report, and that medical report is called as an aggregate report. Okay, based on the ICSR and medical aggregate report, signal may be generated. Signal is nothing but the it's setting an alarm that any undesirable or unintended effect which is not present in CDS or CSI is detected, and that alarm or that alert is called as a signal detection. And nowadays, in after the 2017, every pharmaceutical company needs to prepare their risk management plan before they send the product for the approval. Okay, so these are the four important aspects or the components of the PV system. So let me tell you, there are the multiple job opportunities available in all the fields, mostly for the pharmacy graduates. Okay, so you have the multiple opportunities in ICSR, aggregate report, signal detection, and the risk management plan. So we'll describe the two most important things, ICSR and aggregate report, in the upcoming slides. Next slide, please. So what is ICSR? ICSR is nothing but an individual case safety report, right? So individual case, it is a report which contains all the information, which contain all the information. One second. So ICSR is nothing but which contain all the information about the drug product. And the one ICSR is reported for one patient, but the one ICSR can have multiple identified reporter, and it also contains the multiple suspect adverse reaction or the multiple suspect medicinal product. So what is an ICSR in short? Let me tell you, ICSR is nothing but the adverse event report that we have seen the previous slide, where the report or the form can be filled directly either by the patient or by the healthcare professional, and this form can be sent to the pharmaceutical company or the health authority. Okay, and once this form is filled, this form is finally sent out to the databases to take the appropriate action. So one form at next slide, please. So there are the two types of ICSR. One is called as an solicited ICSR, and second one is an unsolicited ICSR. So what is meant by solicited ICSR? These are nothing but the organized data collection system. Whenever the pharmaceutical company runs any investigational clinical trials or non-investigational clinical trials, they take the data from the patient in an organized manner, and that is why it is called as a solicited ICSR. Or these solicited ICSR can be derived from the patient registries, marketing program, or compassionate use program. So compassionate use program, let me tell you in one line. Suppose in India, drug X is not available, right? But drug X is very, very important for a patient in India, but drug X is not approved in India. So the patient can approach to the pharmaceutical company to get that drug for its benefit. And if the pharmaceutical company send that drug where the drug is not approved for the particular country, that program generally called as the compassionate use program. So these are the solicited programs where the pharmaceutical company has their own data collection system from the patient, from the program they generate. There are the second scenario where the ICSR can be generated, and that is called as unsolicited. Means the patient or the healthcare professional voluntarily report the data to the company or to the regulatory, or even these reports can be generated from the literature abstract, legal cases, then the social media reports, and those unorganized or the non-organized data collection system is called as the unsolicited ICSR. So ICSR is of two types. Solicited means there is a voluntary or the organized data collection system from the pharmaceutical company, then it is called as solicited. Or when the ADR can be derived from the literature abstract, legal cases, or health authority case report, or when it is voluntarily reported by the healthcare professional or by the consumer, those cases are called as the unsolicited ICSR. Next slide, please. So previous slide. So as we see the PV workflow, the first component is ICSR, which is nothing but the individual case safety report. So the case can be obtained from the spontaneous source. Spontaneous is nothing but where the healthcare professional or the consumer directly report the case to the pharmaceutical company or regulatory authority. Second source is literature, where the case can be derived from the published literature, meta-analysis data. Third one is clinical trials. There are the different studies, investigational or non-investigational, and the internet sources. Okay, so once the case is obtained from these sources, this case is processed in the ICSR case processing, or it is also called as the drug safety unit or the case processing unit in the pharmaceutical company. Okay, and so what are the steps they have performed? Generally, once the case is comes into the case processing, first point is duplicate check. They will check whether the case is duplicated or the case is just a follow-up information of the previously reported case. If the duplicate check is finished, then the case is triage. Triage means the booking of the case, entry of the case. So once the triage means once the case is entered into the databases, it gives a particular ID, and that giving a particular ID or booking of a case is called as a triage. Once the case number is generated, all the information is entered from the source, and that role is called as a data entry. After the data entry, the case is forwarded for the quality review to check whether all the information is appropriately captured into the case against the data source. Once the quality review is performed, the case is moved to the medical review to check the seriousness of the cases, and the case is categorized serious, non-serious, and the no case. Okay, and after that, the case is closed. So based on the seriousness and the non-seriousness of the case, there is a reporting timelines for the pharmaceutical company to report that case to the health authority, and that is called as an expedited reporting. After the case is reported to the pharmaceutical to the regulatory authority, for a periodic basis, for all the cases, a summarized report is created, and that summarized report is called as an aggregate reporting. So aggregate reporting is a very, very essential report, and it is an obligation for the pharmaceutical company to continue their license in the country. And these reports are forwarded to the regulatory body, and based on these reports, the regulatory body analyze these reports and can take the appropriate action on the drug. Next slide, please. So what is meant by a valid case, or when we can triage this case? So valid case should have one identifiable patient. So every case, if all the four parameters are there in the case, then only the case is considered a valid case, and then only the case is booked into the databases. So what are the four parameters? The first parameter is the case report should have an identifiable patient. Second, the case report should have the identifiable reporter. The third one is it should contain at least one suspect of the biological product, or it may contain more than one also, but at least one should be there. And the fourth one is it should have at least one adverse event reported in the case report. If the case meets all those four criteria, then only the case is considered valid and it is tried or it is booked into the databases. Once the case is considered valid, then the data entry, quality review, and medical review was performed, and the case is archived and sent it to the regulatory agency, as we discussed in the previous slide. Next slide, please. So these are just highlight what are the roles and responsibility is performed by the case processor. Okay, and each of these steps are required the multiple job opportunity. So case receipt. Okay, so case receipt means the literature. So there are the different jobs are available. So who only derive the cases from the literature. So literature searches are performed by the case processor. So the separate team is there in the industry. Okay, the spontaneous cases. Then triage means booking of the case or data entry. So there is a separate team is there in the pharmaceutical company. And let me tell you, because of the India is a low economic like low cost country, many pharmaceutical companies outsource these jobs to the India, and that is why the in India we have the multiple openings in the case processing. So what is the role in the case processing? The triage and the data entry. So we have the case processor fill all the details into the software. Okay, so there are the two software generally used, that is called as Argus and RSG. So Argus and RSG, those are nothing but the platform which have the multiple tabs where you can put the information against your source document. Source document is nothing but the ADR form. Once this data is entered, the quality review is performed with the accuracy and the quality of checks. Then they are appropriately reviewed. All the MEDRA codings are performed for the particular adverse drug reaction. For example, MEDRA coding, the patient is only reported taking medication less than prescribed. Okay, so this is the verbatim term, but these verbatim term cannot be coded as such. This verbatim term can be coded into a MEDRA coding. Okay, so MEDRA coding is a dictionary. So taking medication less than the prescribed dose means taking less doses by the patient. So taking less doses by the patient means patient misusing the drug. So intentional product misuse is the code for that verbatim. Okay, so these coding is checked by the quality. This coding is checked by the quality control whether the data entry people have coded the verbatim correctly or not. Okay, so the quality control, again, we have the multiple teams available, or multiple people job opportunities are there for the quality control. The next step is medical review. Medical review is nothing but the medical review people will check whether the event are expected or unexpected. As we see in the previous slide, every event is expected or unexpected. So what is meant by expected? If the ADR is already reported in CDS or CSI, they code it as expected. If the ADR is not available in the CDS and CSI, then it is coded as a unexpected. Also, the medical reviewer check the seriousness and the non-seriousness, because the best on the serious and non-serious. For example, what is seriousness? As we discussed, if the case, right, if the adverse event leads to death, permanent disability, prolongation of hospitalization, congenital anomaly, then they consider that event is a serious. And if the serious case, it should be reported to the regulatory agency within 7 days timeline from the date of receipt of the case. If the case is considered non-serious, okay, so it can be reported to the regulatory agency databases within 30 days timeline. And the last point is submission. So there is a separate submission team is available who can submit those cases as per the timeline to the regulatory agency. So you can see the multiple job opportunities are available for the pharmacy graduate at the various stages in the ICSR case processing. Next slide, please. So this is all about, this previous slide explained all about the ICSR. So I have just given a general overview how ICSR works, what are the job opportunities available in ICSR. So what is aggregate report? So regulatory agency cannot take a conclusive or the final decision only on the one case, and that is why a cumulative safety information should be analyzed from the on the periodic basis. Okay, to submit the regulator to take the conclusive action, and that report is called as an aggregate report. So aggregate report is nothing but it is a cumulative report of the safety information of that product for the periodic basis or the particular time. Okay, so aggregate report, it is not focused on individual cases, but it rather it gives an overview or assessment of the safety profile of the risk benefit evaluation, and it gives an opportunity to analyze medicinal product benefit risk balance throughout its life cycle. So what are the benefits? It enables the understanding and the risk benefit evaluation, and it also provides the broader view of the safety profile of the drug. Next slide, please. So in industry, there are the different industry. They have the different role designated. For example, I'm working in Pfizer. It is called as an aggregate report analyst or medical writer. In some companies, it is called as a medical regulatory writer. So different terminologies are there as per the it varies from company to company. But the major roles and responsibility of for this job is the regulatory, the medical writer review and analyze all the safety data from the global safety database. So what is global safety database? For example, if you have reported certain cases about the ranitidine, right? So the safety medical writer will check the periodic basis. So suppose they will take the 1 year data. In 1 year data, how many cases are reported for ranitidine? They will analyze all the ranitidine cases, like they will check how many death cases are reported, how many medication error cases are reported, whether these medication or death are have a causal relationship with ranitidine. If there is a causal relationship with ranitidine, then that can be documented in the report and it can be sent to the regulatory agency. So every regulatory agency have their own different kind of report. We will see in the upcoming slide. So the first role of the aggregate report analyst is to review and analyze the safety data from the global safety database. Second, it consistently or they perform the consistent and accurate analysis which establish the risk benefit profile of the product. It also provides the alert to the physician for any potential event. It also maintain the periodic safety report. They also track and managing the preparation of report. It also provide the medical review of the draft, and then the responsibility is submission or distribution of this report to the health authority, which complies the health authority timeline. And sometimes the health authority, based on their database review, if any signal detect, then this signal or these query they send to the pharmaceutical industry to check in their databases whether there are any cases reported or any issues are there. So aggregate report analyst also check those ad hoc queries and respond to the HA queries. Next slide, please. So classification of aggregate report. As we see the drug development process seen in two stages. One is called as the pre-marketing stage and the second one is post-marketing stage. So pre-marketing stage means pre-approval report. So pre-approval report is nothing but when the drug is being tested into the clinical trials, and those reports are called as the those report which is derived, it is called as the pre-marketing report. So generally there were the two kinds of report were prepared. IND report, which is an annual report submitted to the USA, and the second called as an annual safety report ASAR, which is required to be filled in Europe. But based on the ICH harmonization, now these two reports are combined, and only one report, that is developmental safety update report, is prepared and submitted to the regulatory agency. So let me clear one more time. So what is pre-marketing or pre-approval report? These are the reports which is prepared when the drug is being tested into the clinical study. Okay. The second report, post-marketing or post-approval report, once the drug is approved and the drug is available in the market. So again, the periodically the pharmaceutical company has to prepare reports on the safety profile of the drug, and based on the different agency or the different health regulatory authority, there are the different kinds of report. For example, first report, periodic benefit risk evaluation report. This is a very extensive report which is prepared for the all European Union, but nowadays several countries also requested the similar report, PSUR. For USA, we need to prepare the periodic adverse drug experience report or periodic adverse experience report. So what is meant by periodic adverse drug experience report? This is the report which is prepared for the drug product, whereas the periodic adverse experience report is prepared for the biologic. And these two reports are prepared and submitted to US, while the first report is prepared for the European Union and all other countries. So what is the difference? There is a vast difference in these reports. The first report, PWR, is very extensive report as compared to the PADER. So every health regulatory have their own format to and by which we need to prepare the report. The CAR report is prepared for the Canadian Health Authority. Similarly, we need to prepare the ACO. So once the drug is marketed, so the license is valid generally for 5 years, and every after 5 years, we need to provide an extensive report, okay, which covers the safety and risk benefit analysis. If the risk benefit analysis is the same, then the health authority continues the license for that molecule. Okay, and that report is called as a clinical overview, addendum to clinical overview. So these ACO is prepared for the continuation of licenses. Next slide, please. So here I have just narrated how DSUR is prepared. So as I said, DSUR is prepared when the drug is being invested in the clinical study. So DSUR is prepared after the first authorization trial anywhere in the world. So as we know, everyone have their own birthday, right? So even the drug also have their own birth date, right? So what is the drug has two birth date. One is the DIBD, Developmental International Birth Date, and second birthday of drug is called as the IBD, International Birth Date. Okay. So what is DIBD? Means whenever the drug received the first authorization to use the drug into the clinical trials anywhere in the world, that date is called as the DIBD. Okay, and that is a single harmonized date which is used to prepare this report. Okay, and these DSUR should be submitted within first year of DIBD, and these provide, and after that annually we need to submit the DSUR. So one DSUR can be prepared for one investigational product. For example, suppose one product is available in multiple formulation. So So there is no need to prepare the several separate report for each formulation. So you can accommodate this all formulation in one report. And once you prepared one DSUR, it can be submitted anywhere around the world. Okay. So DIBD is considered as a data lock point. Data lock point means what? Up to that date, we have to collect the information and analyze the information. That date is called as the data lock point. For example, drug X has a DIBD. Drug X got the approval to use in the clinical trial on today, 28th June 2023. So 28 June 2023 is a DIBD and it is considered as a data lock point for the report. So the next report due is 28 June 2024. So whatever the case is reported or whatever the ICSR reported from 28 June 2023 to 28 June 2024 are reviewed, analyzed, and it is and the DSCR report prepared and it is forwarded to the regulatory authority. So that particular date is called as a data lock point, means up to what date you have to take the data for the consideration and analysis. Next slide, please. So similarly, DSUR is used generally when the drug is being tested in the clinical study, but the or PSUR or the PBRs are prepared when the drug is available when the drug is received the marketing authorization. So how we consider the data lock point for the PSUR based on the IBD. So what is IBD? IBD is a date of first authorization of product. Suppose if the product is approved today, so today for drug X, so drug X has a DIBD 28 June 2023. So IBD is considered as an data lock point for the PSUR. So how and in how frequency we need to submit the PSUR? So PSUR can be submitted immediately upon request. If any health authority requests any PSUR, we need to prepare the PSUR. Otherwise, the PSUR can be submitted every 6 months for the first 2 years on the market. Okay, and then annually for the next 2 years, and the next is every 3 years thereafter till the product is in the market or till the health authority wants that PSUR. Okay, so these are the timeline by which we need to prepare. So every 6 months, suppose that today you received an approval for the drug 28 June 2023. So your first PSUR due is 28 December 2023. Okay, so like that 6 monthly PSUR means 4 PSUR is prepared for first 2 years, then 2 PSUR like for 2 years, annually 1 PSUR, and thereafter every 3 years we need to prepare the PSUR for the interval and cumulative data based on the ICSR. Next point, please. So this is very extensive, DSUR and PSUR. There are the number of points by which we need to give the information in DSUR and PSUR. So next, payder and pair. As we discussed, the payder and pair, these are the aggregate report which is required to submit to the US FDA or United States. So payder and pair, they are prepared in compliance for the US Code of Federal Regulators under the code 314.80 in 21 CFR. This is just a code in their Federal Regulation Act. So we just understand payder and pair. Payder is prepared for the drug molecule and pair is prepared for the biological product. And these reports are submitted to the United States only. So these reports are submitted for any product which has an open NDA application or ANDA, that is abbreviated new drug application. I think all of you clear about the abbreviated new drug application. What is abbreviated new drug application? When the particular abbreviated new drug application means when the any inventor molecule expires their full authority, then any pharmaceutical company can develop this product, and they have to furnish the BAB studies data, and that application form is called as an abbreviated new drug application. And the frequency of these payder and peer is quarterly. We need to prepare this report quarterly for first 3 years, means total 12 reports in 3 years, and followed by these reports are prepared annually and submitted to the US FDA. Next slide, please. So as we see, the different types of report like ICSR are documented and they have sent to the regulatory agency, and based on the ICSR, the safety database is reviewed and the aggregate reports are prepared, and again they are sent to the regulatory agency. So what new information, what safety actions can be taken? So based on the data or based on the ICSR or aggregate report, there are the several regulatory actions can be taken by the regulatory agency. The first action, they may update the safety patient information. Patient information means SMPC. In Europe, it is called as SMPC, that is called as summary of product characteristics. In US it is called as the USPI, United States Prescribing Information, or every other country they have their local product developed document. Or even, when you purchase product, you have some package insert, right? In that package insert, it is mentioned what are the ADR associated with that product. Suppose if the particular ADR is not mentioned in that package insert, but based on your ICSR and the case review data, you identify that this is one of the ADR associated with the drug, then the next time that package insert get updated, and it is also communicated to the healthcare professional to take the appropriate action in with regards to the patient safety. Second, a health authority or the pharmaceutical company asked to inform or run the patient education program regarding the event, or also dear doctor letters or the doctor say drug safety alerts later can be sent to the healthcare professional to take the appropriate action. Or if the ADR is life threatening, as we see in case of ranitidine, which can leads to the cancer, and that cancer, so ranitidine generally used for antacid, but it leads to the cancer, which is life threatening. So in that case, the risk outweigh than the benefit. So in that case, the regulators can take an strict action and they can restrict the access to these medicines. Next slide, please. So, sure, up till I hope up till now you have come clear with what is the ICSR and the aggregate reports. I understand it is like too much for you, but there it's just an overview. But let me tell you frankly, there are the lots of opportunities and lots of the learnings are there in the PVP in the pharmacovigilance. As I know, in the student life, we only understand the pharmacovigilance is just a data entry, but it is not just a data entry. It is more beyond that. Okay, so you have a multiple job opportunities in the PV with the good learning and with the good packages as well. So how the pharmacovigilance program runs in India? So pharmacovigilance was not the systematic way runs in India before 2000, but the National Pharmacovigilance they have set up initial unit in the AIMS New Delhi, and now this unit is shifted to the IPC building in Ghaziabad. So the pharmacovigilance program of India is nothing but a drug safety monitoring program, which is an initiative of government of India. It also has the same objective, which it collects the information, then collate and analyze the drug related adverse event and receive through the ADR monitoring centers. So now we have more than 250 ADR monitoring centers under PVPI throughout the India, and the vision of PVPI is likely same, like to improve the patient safety and welfare in the Indian population by monitoring the drug safety alert and then sensitize the stakeholders. So if you go and visit the IPC website or PVPI website, you can see that they have several drug alert released by the pharmacovigilance. One of the example I can share, like amlodipine. So amlodipine can cause alopecia. So they have raised that drug alert. Okay, and these drug alerts is distributed to the healthcare professionals, and those drug alerts are also available on the PVPI website. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So as we see in India, we have no that global or the robust system of pharmacovigilance like the developed countries having, and that is the reason the several drugs which were already restricted or the license is cancelled in other country, but those are still prevailing in India. There are long lists, but let me tell you a few examples. For example, metimazole, okay, which is a very preferred analgesic, and generally the older clinicians still prescribing the metimazole, but ideally it is banned globally due to the bone marrow depression. Nimesulide, we know the nimesulide. Nimesulide is very promising drug as an anti-analgesic medication or cost to inhibit analgesic medication, and it is banned worldwide, like in the year 2000. But still, it was available in India up till 2011, and now in 2011 they have banned in India, or they have restricted the use below 12 years of age. Then the next one is propylphenazone, which is indicated for inflammatory pain. It is discarded due to the bone marrow depression worldwide. Nefofam, which is again an analgesic for post-operative pain, and it is banned due to the incidence of occurrence of epilepsy. Nitrobutazone, which is an antibiotic cream, it's been withdrawn due to its carcinogenic property. Then cisapride has been withdrawn due to occurrence of irregular heartbeat. So there are the several medications which were banned worldwide, but those were still prevailing in India. Those are still available in India. The older clinicians still prescribe those medications because of the lack of awareness lack of the information, and the Indian population still expose these harmful medications. Next point. Next slide. So why these globally discarded drugs are still prevailing in India? There are certain reasons, but let me highlight few reasons over here. The first one is inadequate monitoring regulatory authority. We do not have the robust PV system. We do not have the culture in reporting. Okay, we do not, and there are so many medications still available in India over the counter, right? Even those are the prescribed medication. So we do not have the inadequate monitoring or by regulatory authority. Second, we have unawareness among the healthcare professional and even patients too. We are several still now we are taking so many antibiotics as over the counter medication. Even if we have a small throat pain, immediately we'll go and buy the azithromycins and some other antibiotics. So antibiotic abuses, misuse is a lot in India. Then the lack of coordination. So in India, we have the multiple hierarchy system. We have the DCGI, which is a important body, but at the same time, we have the several state drug controller. Okay, so and in these two bodies, there is a lack of coordinations is there, and that is the reason these drugs are still prevailing in India. We have commercial advertisement, Vicks and all. Those are Vicks Action 500. Those are already banned in so many countries. Self medication under reporting of ADR. We don't know how to report, where to report. Okay, and we don't have the reporting culture also. Poverty and non-availability of the appropriate drug at the right time and the high cost. That is also one of the reason these drugs, because certain drugs which are safe drug, but those are costly. But some drugs are very cheap, but those are harmful, and that is the reason we still use the poverty and the drug cost is the one of the reason we have the those drugs which were banned in the other worldwide. Next slide, please. So important point I would like to tell you is how to report ADR through PVPI, right? So as we know the PVPI, we have the body. So there are the three ways you can report the adverse drug reactions to the PVPI. The first way is we have the forms available on the IPC website. Okay, next slide, please. I'll just like to show the form. Next slide, please. So we have two different forms available on the IPC website. So you can see the previous slide, please. So we have the two different types of forms available, the red forms and the blue forms. So red form is generally available for the healthcare professional and the blue form is available for the consumer. So if anybody is having suspecting any adverse drug reactions after taking the medicinal product, the consumer can directly download this form and fill this form and send to the IPC Ghaziabad. The address is mentioned on the website. Or even though if any consumer reaches to the healthcare professional can also note down this information in the red form and they can send out this form to the PVPI Ghaziabad. And as we know, the India has multiple language, and that is the reason these forms are available in more than 10 languages. These forms are available in Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Gujarati, Assamese, Marathi, Oriya, Malayalam. So in various languages, these forms are available just to ensure the reporting should be more and the to ease of the reporting for the consumer. Previous slide, please. So this is the one way. Previous slide. So previous, this is the first way by which you can report. The second one, ADR can also report to PVPI via helpline numbers. So, and these helpline numbers are available on weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So number is noted in the screenshot 18818003024. So any patient can be directly call on these numbers during the weekdays time 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and the PVPI they will record all these information on your behalf on the call. And the third one is now the PVPI also developed the
Dr. Dilpesh, I think you are muted. Hello? Dr. Dilpesh, I think you are muted. Yeah, please unmute.
Am I audible? Next slide.
Yeah, and now you are audible. This one?
Okay. So this is the last and conclusion slide. Why the key factor propelling this market? Why the pharmacovigilance market is now expanding, and why we are saying like that there are a lot of job opportunities for the pharmacy graduate or the life science graduate student, because as we know, the increased incidence of lifestyle diseases, the diabetes. The India is the diabetic country now, the number one country, the patient, the first country who have the higher number of diabetic patients, the hypertension, cardiac disorder. And then these diseases are a result of the sedentary lifestyle, lack of physical activity, change in lifestyle pattern, and poor diet, which increase the consumption of drug, and which indicate the high demand of drug monitoring and for the growth of pharmacovigilance market. The second reason is there are so many human infectious diseases are also on rise due to recently we have faced one pandemic. Okay, so these growing incidents face the pandemic, and this will lead to the need for the new drug developments, and therefore it stimulate the overall pharmacovigilance market. So with this growing drug consumption, the need of the regulatory monitoring of a drug is also augmented, and eventually it boosted the pharmacovigilance market. So we have touched upon only two things now, ICSR and the aggregate report. These are just an overview, but there is a lot to learn from this perspective. There are again 2 point signal detection and the RMP, which is very again crucial aspect in PV market. So don't see the pharmacovigilance as only the drug safety or only the data entry process, but there are a lot of hierarchies, lot of opportunities. I can tell you there are more than 50 or more than 100 job opportunities available in the various sectors in the PV. Okay, so here I end my presentation, and once again I thank Principal Mahendra Singh Rathod for giving me this opportunity to touch upon this important topic on the drug safety. And I hope I have raised some concern or some I have provided a little insight on the drug safety topic, so the students can get the benefit out of it. So thank you once again. Thank you so much. We can take some questions if anybody.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dilpesh, for this wonderful presentation. And then many facts are there. Then I'm sure that the students would be benefited in this new terminologies that you shared particularly.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
able to hear you. I
Is
can't
that
hear anyone.
now it's audible?
Am I audible?
You are audible. Am I audible to other participants? Anybody can confirm?
Am I audible? I can't hear any voice.